Great. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the December 18th meeting of the Facilities Committee. I call this meeting to order. Mrs. Merrill and Mrs. Helms are on the phone. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, under open session actions, Cox Road property, Mr. Burnett.
Okay, two main things I wanted to talk about on this, and certainly can answer questions. Back in October, the October 1st Board of Education meeting, the board voted to surplus the Cox Road property. The next step is to go to the county on that. And what we plan to do is to go to the county in January.
Okay.
And it's a meeting for them to confirm whether they will exercise or decline its statutory right of first refusal on that property. What we want to do is to make sure that the value is consistent with what you all have said. We were using the appraised value of $2,614,000, and that's what the number that we'll put in with the county correspondence.
Okay. And where are we with any offers on it? We're still waiting.
So yes, we are still waiting. We do have two interested parties. We are waiting. It's really any day to receive the offers. One of which we've been working with for a little while and getting the contract language and things like that. The other we haven't seen yet. When we do receive something from them, we'll be able to respond as far as contract language and some of the
contract
particulars.
language includes something that it can't be used for non-taxable things.
That's right. And also as far as due diligence periods and escrow amounts and some of which is by statute, what they have to put in, and we just need to make clear to them, what that is. So that's the first item. The second item is that.
So really, there's nothing we have to do. We just know that we're sending it now to the Board of County Commissioners to get on their agenda. Okay, great. Thank you.
So then the second item is it's with the assumption, we have two options on how to proceed with this, and this is for the Board of Education. And that is where we've talked about how we're going to proceed with this, but we haven't actually gone to the board. The board has surplus the property, but there hasn't been any other action from the school board for this property. We can go ahead and start the process by doing an advertisement for the property. We receive bids and then go through that effort. We haven't done the advertisement yet.
Do we normally wait for an offer and then do the upset bid process, right?
So that's where we were going with this. And with the county commissioner item, we could wait until we see that the county commissioners do decline their right of statutory first refusal and then go through that process. Or we can go ahead and start that now, which I think most people feel like that's where we were going, but we wanted to make sure that was the case, that we were going to go ahead and start that process now, do the advertisement, because the county commissioner item won't be before them until one of the January meetings.
But we wouldn't start the process before they've said that they either want to exercise their right of first refusal or not, right?
Well, that's what this question is. We could wait until they make a decision and then do the advertisement. We may receive a proposal. It may be tomorrow. If we wait until the county commissioner action, then we will sit on that proposal until probably the February meeting, because we would then come back to the board in February. So that's where we're going with this. We could do the advertisement now. We could start that process. Now there's a risk associated with that. And that's for the bidders.
Just my opinion, I would keep it clean and keep it simple, and I would go ahead and go through the process as normal and go to the BOCC as soon as we can, see what they say, and then wait.
Okay.
That would just be my recommendation. That way you have no risk associated with that.
So that would mean we would wait until the Board of County Commissioner meeting being the first step.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
That's what we've typically done.
You
And
good
I
with
think that
that?
would be the,
Melissa, you good with that? Christina?
I think that's the only way we should do it.
Okay, agree. Okay. So the next item is approval of custodial bids. Mr. Burnett.
Yes, we had about a dozen suppliers bid on 21 different custodial products. We evaluated the products, and that was after receiving who the apparent low bidders were, and really the top 2 or 3 had them submit products, and they were evaluated. Not all low bidders are recommended for award, and that's based on the quality of the products that were submitted. The pricing is good for 4 years, as long as we meet the minimum order, the quantities that are stated in each contract. That's also in the bid tab. This bid allows us to go with multiple suppliers. The combined bid recommendations are for Interstate Solutions for a number of items. I'll read them real quickly. Regular toilet tissue, can liners, wet mops, that type of stuff. And that came to a combined total of $69,528.60. And another vendor with bid recommendations for Seven Oaks Supply Company. And that was the junior jumbo tissue and enzymes, and that came to $43,434. The reason we're coming to you all is because it's a 4-year bid. If you multiply it by 4 years, it will exceed the $90,000.
So do we use any of these suppliers now?
Yes.
Okay.
And the award, we feel that we're basically at the same. We didn't really, aren't seeing a significant price increase. We're fortunately at the same as what we're spending today. So staff requests the Facilities Committee to recommend to the Board of Education approve contracting with Interstate Solutions, and the total amount is $69,528.60. And with Seven Oaks Supply Company, and the total amount of $43,434 annually as part of a 4-year contract.
Can I, a motion to approve, and then we can discuss?
Was motion to approve so we can discuss.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, Dave, you say the price was about the same. Did we already have a 4-year contract with them previously, or did we receive any kind of incentives to go with a 4-year contract?
It was not bid with incentives for extending the period. It was a 4-year term.
Was the last contract a 4-year contract?
I don't know that it was specifically a 4-year contract, but it was a multi-year item.
So the price is about the same with no additions or deletions of products?
For the items that we're awarding, yes, it was about the same. We had some that were higher and we had some that were lower. But we were pleased with the amount that it came in at.
Okay, sounds good.
And, on the bottom of this page, what are the other items that are not included in the EC?
Okay. Yeah, so we had 3 other bidders that we are going to be awarding with. If you add up those totals and multiply them by 4 for 4 years, it doesn't exceed $90,000. So we're able to do those as just regular POs. And by the way, let me mention that for all of these are basically where we're locking in the unit pricing, and that we'll be able to do blanket POs. Now, we may not purchase all of these items, but we'll have them on an as-need basis. So we'll be doing individual POs during the time period.
Yeah, okay.
In the contract period.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any more questions? All those
No.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. 4-0 to the full board.
I'll do the next one.
Okay, that is everything in the action items to the full board. So we go to safety, school safety grant, Dr. Houlihan.
Thank you. Last week, as the board knows, we received another grant regarding school safety from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. This totaled a little bit more than $300,000 and really affords us to expand our safety and security efforts in 4 ways. Number one, adding 2 what I believe are part-time SROs to cover 2 Monroe area elementary schools, adding additional card reader access to schools and locking mechanisms, and then training that through Safe and Civil Schools that non-Title I schools have not received yet. And so we were very, very fortunate to have received this. It certainly will continue to enhance our safety efforts, and I want to give a big thank you to our staff who helped write that grant proposal and wanted to make sure that the public knew about it and see if the board had any questions today.
I think it's great. I just want to add that on the HID devices and the locks, these are just additive to the schools. We have a lot of that at the schools already. It's just adding some in a few places.
I have a couple of questions. So this is for a total of 300,000, and there's some part-time school resource officers included. What is the term of the grant, and what happens after the grant app is over?
Mr. McCraw can answer. I believe it's a 1-year grant. And so what that would mean is that at the end of the grant period, we would either reapply for a renewal of that funding source, or City of Monroe would have to pick that up. And so it really would cover for 1 year.
Have we had any conversations with the City of Monroe about this?
We have. I talked to Chief Gilliard a few times. We talked before we wrote the grant. He felt like he could get 2 people. The grant covers $33,333 for each SRO. So that will cover for the remainder of the school year. We had been looking for a way to cover the city elementary schools with SRO coverage, and this provided that.
And you had conversation with him that if we don't get the grant extended at the end of the first year, that we're going to work with them and the City of Monroe to come up with the money to continue with that?
Yes, ma'am. We'll have to work with them if we can continue that after the end of the school year.
That's the thing with grants. It's a good thing, but it's
Until it's over.
until it's over, and then
cut
you
off.
have human capital that you have to.
And we did talk to Sheriff Kathy, but with that amount of money, we could not fund an SRO in the county for that amount of money.
Okay.
So Chief Gilliard, we were able to partner with him on that.
Okay.
So how many schools in the Monroe district is that for elementary? Just 2?
It would be 4 elementary schools that 2 SROs would cover.
share.
They would divide it. Rocky River is actually covered by the Sheriff's Department at this time. The other 4 would be covered by these 2 SROs.
So we already have them in the 4 elementary schools now, right? So we have 2 and we're getting 2 more?
In the Monroe City schools, the way it is set up currently, the CATA SRO would be assigned to Walter Bickett to respond to that school. The Monroe High School would respond to East Elementary. This would dedicate an SRO to the Monroe City elementary schools.
Okay. Okay.
So I have a question.
So wait, can I ask one question to follow on? So this starts in January?
It would start the second semester, yes.
So
ma'am.
the second semester. So this would pay for the SROs for the second semester and the first semester of fiscal 2021?
It would cover $33,333.
Okay.
It would go into that second semester.
So we need to make sure in the fiscal 2021 budgeting, we have a conversation with the City of Monroe about the second semester of next year.
Did you say it will cover all of next year or just the first?
No, just the first
It would
semester.
not.
Just
It would only
this
cover.
second semester of
That's all
fiscal
it covers.
20, and then the first semester of fiscal 21.
It does cover the first semester of.
It would cover some of it. It would exhaust that funding,
Okay, so then
$33,333.
so it's not. So then we would have to have conversations this
This spring.
spring.
Soon.
Okay,
And
I'm so-
I'll go ahead and have conversations with Chief
we need to
Gilliard.
start that now.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, Mrs. Merrill, I just wanted to ask that question.
Oh, no problem. I would like to get an explanation on the Safe and Civil Schools training. So we've got 22 of our 30 elementary schools receiving that training. So I would like to know about the 8 elementary schools that are not receiving the training. And I would like to know how the 3 middle schools, Cuthbertson, Marvin, and Weddington Middle, were chosen for this training over our out of our 9 middle schools. And finally, I would like to know how the 5 high schools were chosen to receive this training out of our 11 high schools. Again, Cuthbertson, Marvin, and Weddington. How were those clusters chosen to receive safe and civil schools training over all of our other schools?
So Safe and Civil Schools, as you all might remember, is a group we've been working with the last 3.5 years. In our Title I schools, all staff have been trained for the last 2 years. Number one, the first year is called Foundations, which is really a focus on school culture. And the second year is called Champs, which is a training on classroom management. So all Title I schools, you will not see any Title I schools on this list because they've already received both years of training through either local funding or our EPIC grant. Other schools that are not on this list will be trained through our Legends grant, which if you'll remember, that includes the Parkwood cluster, Piedmont cluster, South Providence, Sun Valley, and I can't remember one other cluster. But that is a grant we received also this past fall. That is a federal grant, a 5-year grant that will cover training for all of those schools as well.
What was the name of the grant?
And isn't that the same thing? Safe and civil schools training is the same thing?
Exact same thing.
What was the name of the other
It's
grant?
called
Okay.
Our Legends grant.
Legends
That's
grant.
the one that includes what we call our culture coaches.
Yes.
It's a 5-year grant, I think worth $750,000. And so those schools will be trained through that source of funding. All the schools you see on this list are not covered by either the Title I funding, EPIC funding, or Legends funding. This is the funding source that will cover the rest of the school system. So by the time this is over, all 53 campuses would have benefited from that training.
Has the Legends grant already been initiated? Has it started?
It's in progress. We just received the funding allotment, I believe, back in November. And so we're working on that. The training has not begun yet, no.
So essentially between the 2 grants, everybody's and the EPIC grant and everything, all the grants, everything will be covered this year?
Correct. This year, this summer, mostly.
Okay.
A lot of it will be summer training.
Okay.
And
Okay, so just for my understanding, the grant we're looking at today starts in January, 2nd semester.
Yes.
When will the Legends grant start?
The Legends grant essentially has already started. I mean, in terms of receiving the funding, we've posted the culture coach positions. We're working on a training plan. So it's in progress. Given the fact that we're in school, a lot of training is hard to complete during the school year. So a lot of our safe and civil schools work will happen in June and July, mostly in June.
So it all happened simultaneously between all the grants, simultaneously. Okay.
In terms of the equipment on this grant, we're currently looking at the HID devices and the locking. That would be a question, I guess, for Dave and Mark to determine how long it would take if those projects can be done second semester or if that's also a summertime event. So I'll defer to Dave on that.
Yeah, we will have to see when the funding is available, but just right now, just plan on that work occurring in the summer.
I'm assuming when you have Maglock, you're getting an HID device with it also.
And yeah, with that, we do want to explore the Maglock, and if there are any options, with that. But yes.
Okay. Anything else? Next thing on the agenda is Sun Valley Planning. Mr. Obram.
Thank you. Good morning. We will run through this in a very similar way to the way we've done past clusters. So there shouldn't be any surprises as to format. I'll start off with a map of the student distribution in the Sun Valley cluster, and you can see there are three major areas, one around the Sun Valley campus, one to the south along Airport Road, and to the north in the Indian Trail area. Our current status, obviously we've got the middle school and the high school, Indian Trail Elementary, Rocky River Elementary, which is only a partial to the Sun Valley cluster, and then the Shiloh Valley primary and elementary schools. Currently all within capacity, however, the middle school and the high school are pushing the upper limit. This is a map of the development and land use in the Sun Valley cluster. The color coding is the same as we've used in the past. Okay, and you can see the active subdivisions, the subdivisions in planning. In this cluster in particular, you'll see that there's a heavy dose of commercial and industrial, mostly around the airport area, but also along the US 74 corridor. This is just the Indian Trail portion of the Sun Valley cluster. I've put the names of the subdivisions on the map. And what we'll see in the next chart is a listing of those subdivisions that are either in planning or currently active. So from this, we can see we've got the 5 subdivisions in the Indian Trail area that are currently active, currently in some phase of construction, whether actual home construction or infrastructure. And then the purple subdivisions are those that are definitely on our radar, are in planning, and we do expect to come to fruition at some point. So we've got in the area 1,500 homes, or housing units, I should say, to be built yet in the Indian Trail area. Then the southern portion of the cluster is Rocky River and the Shiloh Valley schools. Gets kind of busy because there's an awful lot of stuff on there, but the color coding again applies. We've got 2 subdivisions that are currently active, Harkey Creek and Heritage. Now you'll notice that this says as of August 2019. Obviously, in both of those subdivisions, we do have houses built, and if I'm not mistaken, occupied in both of those subdivisions. So that will change at the next time we update. And then we've got 3 subdivisions that are currently in planning, coming just under 1,500 homes or family units in this portion of the Sun Valley cluster.
So,
one thing I would like to point out is that in this cluster, you'll notice that we've got a heavy dose of apartments and townhomes. This is a change from what we've seen in Union County over the past decades. Most of these are in planning, although we have had one open in this area in the past 2 years. But you'll notice there are 531 apartments, townhomes planned here, and 1,155 in the Indian Trail attendance area. So that's a considerable change from the demographic that we've seen in this county over the past 20 years.
and we saw that when you talked about the Weddington cluster a while ago, particularly Antioch. And that being an apartment too. And the biggest question with the apartments is how many are 1 bedroom, how many are 2 bedroom, how many are 3 bedroom. I heard that the one by Antioch switched to less apartments, but more 3 bedroom apartments, which would lend itself to children.
And that's the difficulty we face in planning is
Right.
a developer could change that sort of thing
Right.
partway through the process.
And I was at the meeting with the hub in the 350. They had originally asked for double the amount of that. They only approved half, but they can come back for the other half. So just so everybody knows, that's sitting right almost on 74
Right.
by Kate Skate and all that over there.
Actually, it's a
Further
little,
over?
it's a little closer to Charlotte. It's on
Okay.
the, kind of behind the Taco
Off
Bell.
of Waxhaw
and
Indian Trail
Chestnut.
over by, okay. So, so you're talking in total about 3,000 units
Plus or
together
minus, yes,
for
ma'am.
Sun Valley Middle and Sun Valley High.
That's correct. And you'll see here are cluster cohorts. The ninth grade is larger than we would expect. The 10, 11, and 12 are smaller than the other cohorts, which is what we would expect. However, look at the 6, 7, and 8, the middle school grades as they move into the high school. There is going to be pressure on Sun Valley High School for the next several years. The elementary cohorts tend to get a little smaller. That'll provide us some help in future years. But when you consider the development that's also coming, this is a cluster we're going to need to keep a very close eye on.
There's another apartment behind Lowe's at 74 and Wesley Chapel Stouts Road that's being
Correct.
talked about as well.
Yeah, that's
Is that on your sheet?
that is Evoke at Indian Trail, the bottom one listed there.
Was that approved already? Or no, it's still in planning. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's kind of behind the movie theater.
Right, between the movie theater and the Lowe's, yeah.
Right.
On that side of the track though, toward Sun Valley.
Right, correct.
Okay.
One thing I will add in mitigation to the utilizations that we saw earlier is that we do have a classroom addition in progress at Sun Valley High School, which will add 3 classrooms, Dave?
Yeah, it's 3 new classrooms, but we are repurposing other space, so the existing.
The admin suite and everything will be repurposed, so it could add additional ones.
So
And
if we get 4 classroom spaces, then that's 112 additional
Correct.
students to the capacity.
And one of the bigger problems that Sun Valley has had is an undersized cafeteria, so we're fixing that as well. I think the cafeteria only fits about 1,260 kids, and we have almost 1,500 in there. So they've taken, outside space and stuff, but having a new cafeteria will do a lot for that too. So, any questions?
No,
I do have a question.
Okay.
We have, 12 NCRs at Rocky River? Yeah. Well, why do we have 12 there? Are they being utilized?
So we were on a kind of a campaign to go ahead and surplus a lot of mobiles. What we were discovering is we weren't getting any money for them. And I mean, it was a couple $100, in some cases. So it was we just didn't see the point, of doing that.
But they're not all being utilized.
Yep. We do have other functions at Rocky River. I think we do have a transportation. I think they're using transportation. I think transportation is using at least one. We've got some other, but
I think though at Sun Valley Middle School, they use a lot of for classrooms still. Yeah. They used to be using like 6 of them for classrooms at least.
but going back to Rocky River, if that school's at 82%, how did we wind up with 12 MCRs there? What's the history at Rocky River?
so in the past, they had higher enrollment. So that's why they had the numbers. And we
Okay.
just simply haven't incurred the cost of relocating them or doing something else with them.
Because 12 MCRs for an elementary school seems extreme. I don't remember it being that high.
In the redistricting in 14, they pushed students into there, and it was more crowded at that time than it is now.
Right, okay. I mean, because 12 is a lot.
Yes. Okay, next.
I'm sorry, excuse me,
Nope,
before
it's
you
okay,
move
sorry.
on, I would suggest for the next month, whether it be January or February, depending on how things work out, we could either revisit Weddington, since initially we only did the Antioch cluster, or we could look at the Marvin Ridge cluster at the board's desire.
I wouldn't mind taking a look at the Forest Hills cluster also, just to see, because it's going to be a lot of change here in the next few years in that area, and with water, sewer.
And yes, sir, we
Not
can,
bad,
we
so-
can certainly do that. We're just trying to hit the
The more correct.
the clusters that seem to be more in extremis
Yes.
at this point, but we can certainly put that on our list as
Okay.
something to do in the future.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like,
Hey, Kathy.
personally, what? Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, it's hard to read when to interject. Apologize. Can we get a current stat? I really like the screen where it shows the current status in our schools and the MCRs. In January or February, I would like to request a update, just like what we
Utilization.
see today, but for all 53 schools, with that last column showing MCRs.
And I guess,
Now that we have gone through that campaign and gotten rid of some of our MCRs, I would like an up-to-date report with all 53 schools and that MCR calculation total.
we have a document that's a couple years old now that you would also showed us utilization of the MCRs. I guess I would like to see that as well. It's good to know
Yeah,
that
maybe just take that report, since it is a couple years old, and update it now that we've gotten rid of so many.
and which ones are using it, which ones aren't, stuff like that. I would like to see Marvin Ridge, I guess, because it's a little more crowded than Weddington is right now, but I'd
By
like
all
to see
means.
Weddington at some point too. I mean,
Yeah,
McKibben said that Marvin Ridge is going to continue to go down, so we'd like to see that if that's.
Yeah,
panning
the
out.
plan is to run through as many
I
of the
know it is.
clusters as the board would like to see.
Whichever one you want to do first, it really doesn't matter, Weddington or Marvin, and then Forest Hills thrown in there. And so we've done, this is the third or fourth? Third,
This is the fourth, well,
fourth.
in counting.
Antioch, counting Antioch. Okay, great. Thank you very much. That was
Yes,
very
ma'am.
interesting. Okay, next in your packet is a change order update. Just one on it for the transportation facility. Next is the construction update.
So we started off at Transportation Center. We've got several pictures of that progress. As you can see, masonry, brick veneer is underway, steel is up. Actually, some roofing panels are going on. So we're making really good headway, good production, and we're really pleased with the way that project is flowing. We are looking at a June 2020 completion on that. At this time, we don't see any reason why we wouldn't.
We were waiting
meet that.
for water and stuff. Are we still waiting for water there?
So, yeah, in the contract, we're providing, we're extending the water and the sewer. What we
Okay.
were waiting on was the permitting and really the authority from the authorities having jurisdiction
Yes.
to proceed on that.
Okay,
So we are having a pre-construction meeting that has been scheduled, and that's a good sign that
Good.
that we're now able to start
Okay.
on that.
great. Thank you.
Many pictures of Sun Valley High School. I did go back and included many pictures of the stadium and its progress. These pictures are a little bit dated because the concrete work had progressed since these pictures were taken. But the contractor is at the stage now of seeking certificate of occupancy on many of the different buildings. So all of those buildings were permitted individually at the new dining, admin, CTE building. That is progressing well with all the trades are working, plumbing, mechanical, electrical. Do have some pictures of, inside. You definitely can see, what the floor plan is. Right now, the contractor is indicating a schedule and where we believe we'll be able to be moving in over spring break. That is the big window for us, and we've communicated to the contractor that that's when we need to move in, and that we don't want to miss that, because that'll be a very difficult move for us to try to do it any other time than spring break.
Okay.
On capital projects, the Wolf project right across the street,
I have a question before you get there. Porter Ridge High School, that we're still waiting on that partition wall. When do we think that's going to get finished?
We are in communication with the architectural firm, and
Okay.
and we do need to get some responses from them.
Okay. Wolf School, sorry.
So at Wolf, we're installing the cooling tower and associated pumping with pumps. Piping, and as you can see, that those have been installed. That is actually this as of Monday, school let out because they're year round, and we do anticipate that a great deal of work is going to be happening as far as rooftop units and the other work that is more impactful in those areas. We're hoping that when students come back, that for the most part, this work will be done. The other items, I guess, the video doorbells, an update from when I put this out. At that time, we had 5 sites that were complete. We're at 10 sites that are complete, and in this package, there's 14 sites.
So we should be done by the 31st?
It's looking good. It
Good.
looks a whole lot better than the last time.
Glad to hear it. Okay. Thank you. Okay, surplus inventory. Short. Anybody have any questions on it? Nope. Okay. And building and zoning permits are for information, so you have that. If we don't have any other questions, I need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A5 to discuss purchase of property.
So moved.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Just hang on a second while we clear the room. Thanks.